Welcome to the new episode of Blockchain of the Month podcast. Let's continue exploring Manta network. In the last episode, we saw how to deploy a smart contract on Remix ID. Now, let's see how to deploy a contract on HardHat. The prerequisites for deploying a smart contract on HardHat is Node.js and npm. Kindly install these two dependencies. So if you have not yet installed, I have shared the doc of how to install these in the description. Kindly follow it. So now let's start by creating a folder structure. So I'm creating a folder called HardHat and I'm moving inside that folder and I'm initializing a Node.js project by using npm init-y. Now let's install HardHat. To install HardHat, let me use the command npm install HardHat. Now let me initialize a HardHat project. So to initialize a HardHat project, enter this code. So now we have HardHat template set. In this following folder, options, click the last one, create an empty HardHat config.js. We will start from the scratch. Now when you click ls, you can see all the folders which are generated here. HardHat config.js, node modules, package.json and package.json. Now let's install the ethers library. The ethers library is used for all the Web3 operations like deploying the contract and sending transactions to the contract, everything. So for that we'll use this ethers library. So let's wait till it is being installed. So now the ethers library has been successfully installed. Now let's create a folder to deploy our contract. So I'm creating a folder called contracts. So inside the contracts folder, I am creating a file called age.sol. So I am gonna use the same contract which we deployed in the previous video. So let me open Visual Studio Code. This is the contract that we have used in the previous video. So if you have any queries, just check out the previous video. So here we have no syntax highlighting present. So if you want to enable syntax highlighting, just type solidity, the extensions bar, and you will find an extension from Juan Blanco and install it. So after installing this, you will get a syntax highlighting. Now close this Visual Studio Code and open it in HardHat folder. Now create a file called secrets.json inside HardHat. In this folder, we have to create a private key. We have to enter a private key of our MetaMask account. So let me go to MetaMask and copy my private key. So now paste this in this segment and now save it. Now let's write the configuration file for hardhat.config.js. First, let us import the ethers library. So with the ethers only we are going to perform all the Web3 operations. Next, we are going to import the private key from the secret.json file. Next, we are going to specify the module.exports. So when we pass this file to some other file, so these are the values that will be passed from this file. So the solidity version that we have specified is 0.8.6 because our contract is written in 0.8.6 and the default network is Manta. So here I am defining all the networks present. So Manta. So URL, this is the RPC URL of Manta and chain ID of Manta. and here I present which private key to take, so I have written it from here. So these Manta properties and all can be retrieved from here. So this is the HardHat config.js file that we have written. Now let's compile our contract. So to compile the contract, go inside the contracts folder and enter the command npx HardHat compile. So already file successfully compiled, and you can also see that 2 new files have been generated, folders have been generated, artifacts and cache. So now let's create a script to deploy our application. So let me create a new folder called scripts and create a new file. So let me go back to Visual Studio Code. So let's start to write the code for deploy.js. So first let's define an asynchronous function called main. Now let's get the contract that we want to deploy. So here we have to pass the name of the contract. So it is not the file name here, it is the name of here, the contract name. Next, let's create a new instance of a contract to deploy. So here we are creating a new instance, and let's wait for the contract to be deployed. So here we are checking whether the contract is deployed or not. So finally we are publishing the contract address. So here we are console logging the contract address. Now here we are calling the main function to execute our function. So if the main section doesn't contain any error, then exit with the code 0. If it has any error, then it will print that error and exit with the code of 1. So this is the deploy.js file, and now let's deploy the contract in the Manta Pacific Sepolia testnet. Now go to the terminal and go to HardHat folder and execute this command to deploy the contract in the testnet. Now go to the scripts folder and create a new file called interact.js. In this file we are going to write the script for interacting with the chain code like transactions. So first I am creating an asynchronous function called main, and I am going to paste the contract address which we received here, and I am going to get the contract which we used here. So here I am going to attach this contract instance to the contract which is being deployed in the Manta Pacific testnet, and here I am going to set the age as 61, and I am waiting to the transaction to be completed, and I am printing the transaction status, and then I am going to get what is printed in that age function, and then I am going to print what is the age of the function. Now I am going to call the main function, and then if there is no error, then I will exit with the status code 0. If there is any error, then I will print the error message and then exit with a status code of 1. Now let's deploy this script. Go to this one and click npx HardHat run scripts -interact network Manta. Here we have done a small error, that is, instead of passing result we pass that one. So let's deploy this one again. As you can see here, the age is being visible here. So here the big number, because we have not formatted to integer. If you format integer, the value will become 61. So we have now deployed a contract and interacted with the contract in Manta network. Now let me tell you the difference between HardHat and Remix. So Remix is a user-friendly application to deploy simple contracts, but in HardHat you can deploy end-to-end project. HardHat provides inbuilt testing features like Mocha and Chai, but Remix doesn't provide that much testing features. In this episode, we saw how to deploy a contract in HardHat. In the next episode, let's see how to deploy a smart contract based on ZK in Manta network. So see you on next Saturday.